Hey y'all, if you're here for my TikTok video, welcome to my channel. My name is Anita and thank you for being here. Today we're talking about 20 lessons that I wish my girls in their 20s would know before they get to 30. These 20 things are going to be comprised of advice on relationships, friendships, faith, and so much more. Let's get started. Alright, so my skin is prepped and I'm starting off with my L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Foundation. So the first lesson that I'm going to start off with is a lesson of gratitude. Having gratitude off the top, it'll take you so far with people. And I think we think that having gratitude is something that it's ingrained in everyone. We learn it as we're kids. Say please, say thank you. We think gratitude is manners, and gratitude is not manners. Because as you get older, you'll start to realize that sometimes it's not about what you can do for someone. It's more so how you make them feel appreciated that allows them to do more for you. In intimate relationships and friendships, a lot of times you'll see that if you're a natural giver or you know someone that's a natural giver, they typically don't want anything back from you, but just appreciation. So as you're in your 20s, going into your 30s, it's very important that you're constantly thanking God for everything that you currently have, but also that you're thanking those around you that have helped you get where you are. The second lesson is going to be the realization that as you get older, you're in charge of your own happiness. For me, this was something that it took me until I was about 27, 28 to really understand this. Because of course, when we're young, our parents are kind of in charge of our happiness in the sense that they choose what they can pay for, where we go, where we eat. We have a little bit of autonomy if they give it to us, but they are the ones that are allowing us to experience joy, experience new things, experience happiness. And then when you get to the ages where you're in college and everything like that, even though you have a little bit more autonomy, a little bit more freedom, and you kind of are sort of in charge of your happiness, it's so much easier to find joy and to do spontaneous things with your friends because you're in such close proximity with them. So for me, it wasn't until I think like a little bit post-pandemic, I saw so many people going out with their friends, going out with their families, just having a good old time. And I would sit in my room just upset because I'm like, why are my friends, like, why are we not going out? Like, I'm not hanging out with my friends. I'm not doing anything. And it put me in a depressive state because I didn't realize that, like, that was on me. Your friends are not in charge of your happiness because they have their own to worry about. So all of your dreams, all of your goals that you have, all the places you want to travel and explore, you need to get up and do that for yourself and not anyone else. Okay, foundation's done, eyebrows are done. Let's get into the good stuff. Number 3, at 25, your brain chemistry should change. You should start looking at things differently. And for my contour, I will be using the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer in maple syrup. So for me at 25, you'll think it's silly, but I stopped doing things like not wearing jeans. And I stopped doing things like wearing leggings outside. Just things that I thought that I would never stop doing. One day I just woke up and I was like, oh, things are different in my head. Things are different up here. And I know that for women that happens because our frontal lobe develops fully around the age of 25. Hey Siri, what is the use of your frontal lobe?
The frontal lobe plays an important role in brain functions, such as voluntary, under conscious control, movements, memory, problem solving, speech, and performing everyday tasks, which involve multiple steps.
Okay, so in case I didn't know what a frontal lobe was or what the function of it, there it is. So that's why for me, I believe that once you hit that age, you should start going about the way you problem solve and think about things a lot differently. Yeah, I woke up one day and I saw my friendships differently. I saw my family relationships differently. I just saw a lot of things differently. I was like, okay, this is a breath of fresh air because I feel like now I can put into words what I feel and what I need to do to progress in life. 25 was when I made a lot of big girl decisions when it came to ending relationships, moving and getting new jobs, starting a new career, taking it seriously, getting promotions. Like 25 for me, I actually have a tattoo that says Rebirth 25 because that year was so pivotal in my development that I think that it's something that if you're in your early 20s, you should look forward to. If you've passed that age though, and you don't feel like you've gotten that development yet, you don't feel like you've gotten that new wind when it comes to just how you see life. I did read somewhere that a lot of times our development is stunted because we've experienced a lot of trauma in life, and then our mindsets can be stuck in the age when we experience trauma. Now, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist or anything like that, but I did take that nugget with me in how I not only approach my life, but how I approach others. That made me realize that, okay, people really just kind of aren't maturing in their thought processes, and sometimes it's not their fault. So I say all of that to say, give yourself and give other people grace. All right, y'all, we are all contoured and bronzed up. Now let's get into highlight. So the first part of my highlight routine is going to be color correcting. And I'm using the Huda Beauty Faux Filter concealers in Lychee and Pink Pomelo. At 29, things stop being funny. You realize you're going into your third decade and you really got to put on your big girl panties and get to work. Start showing up for yourself. This one for me hit me like a ton of bricks when I turned 29. It really felt like I woke up one day and thought, oh, like, I think I do want kids. And oh, like, maybe I should get married. And it was just such an odd feeling because I feel like I had not had those thoughts all through my 20s. I've never centered marriage or men in my life. But once 29 hit, I was like, oh, I'm about to be 30. Like, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And I want to say that is the wrong way to look at your life and look at your age. Everybody, of course, is on a different path, but it does get to the point where you're seeing people get married that you went to school with, you're seeing people have babies, and you start to wonder, am I doing something wrong? But I think it's super important that we learn to control what we can control and let God take the other things. And the things that you can control, like how you show up at work, how good you are to other people, how you show up for yourself, you should focus on those things and really assess if you're doing your best in those areas. I don't stress about things that I cannot control, and it's just a very peaceful place to be in, which is why it's important for you to show up for yourself where you know that you absolutely can and let God take the rest. Now we're going into our concealer highlight and number 5. For my concealer highlight, I'm going to be using the Tarte Ultra Creamy Shape Tape in the colors 47S and 42S. So move out of your hometown just for a little bit, y'all. You'll realize there's so much more to life than the same people in the same places. Y'all, I cannot stress this enough how important and how pivotal of a decision moving when I was 23 to a different state across the country was to my life. I had gotten out of college maybe 2 years before, and I was finding myself. I worked in Dallas, and then I just wanted something more for myself. So I took a leap of faith. I quit my job. I thought I'd be able to stay in Texas, but God had other plans for me, and I had to pack up all my stuff as a little baby girl. I was a baby girl, a child. I did it all by myself. I paid for my car to get moved across the country. I packed my bags, bought my plane tickets, just all these things. And I was doing it by myself. I did it scared and I did it nervous, but I still did it. And it allowed me to really focus on just me. I was able to make new friends. I was able to have new experiences, try new things, travel to different places. A lot of times you can see the differences of people who stayed in the same city for their whole life, no matter how successful they are. There is a stark difference between someone who has traveled, someone who has been outside of their comfort zone, and how they speak and how they are just less worried about life and able to give full control to God and not worry about the next thing that you only get when you do something by yourself and you do it scared, but you do it anyways, and you come out of the other side successful, happy, just different. So if you are in your early 20s still, heck, even if you're in your late 20s and you have not left your hometown, please do it. Try it out. It can be for a year at least and just see what new life experiences it gives you. Let's blend out this highlight. Number 6. It's amazing to make new friends, but remember to water the ones that helped build your foundation. They need you too. I had to go through a humbling experience with my best friend since I was in the 6th grade. I went off to college and she did not go to college. She stayed home. So when you're in college, you're just kind of living in your own bubble. I had gotten, a new group of friends. So when I would come home, I would, I might see my friend, I might not. It happened that she would always consistently show up for me. No matter what, she showed up for me. So when I was graduating, she was there. When I was having events that I needed her to be there, she was there. She has just been honestly the epitome of a great friend. We did hit a point in our friendship where she had to let me know that she had been feeling neglected. And she was right. And it wasn't until she called me out on that in a loving way, of course. And because I value the friendship so much, I was able to respond and reassure her that one, I would do better, and two, she is important to me, probably the most important friend that I've had. And there was no way that I would let my pride get in the way of being able to rebuild our foundation. A lot of the times I find that we take old friends, day one friends for granted. We assume that the foundation is going to be enough to keep us growing, and we forget that a relationship needs to be watered as well. Now that we're done highlighting, let's go ahead and do some blush. For my blush, I'm using the Rare Beauty blush in the color Grace. So I like to put my blush on the high points of my cheekbones because I don't got cheekbones, y'all. I just got face. As you mature in wisdom, you'll look back and cringe at how you handled some situations. Good for you. You're growing up, but don't sit in it for too long. Forgive the past version of yourself because without them, there would be no you now. Hey y'all, my camera overheated, so off camera I set my under eye and I did it with the Huda Beauty under eye powder in Cherry Blossom. So for me, when it comes to maturing and looking back on things that you've done and how you've handled situations and cringing at them, I think that is so normal because that means that you're growing up. It means that you are now understanding that you handled things the best way you could. But now that you have more maturity, now that you have more life experiences, you're able now to look back on things and you might wish that you've done it differently, but you can't live in that space. You have to be able to forgive yourself for who you were then and how you acted and treated people and be able to move forward. Because as you get older, a lot of people can get stuck in regret or guilt. And it's very important that if you're hearing this now before you're in your 30s, your 40s, etc., that you're able to understand that if you want to live a life without regrets, it's important now to treat people well, to treat yourself well, and make sure that you're doing things that will allow you to be proud of your character and how you responded. For a while in my 20s, I was stuck in that cycle of repeatedly playing situations over and over again and wondering where I went wrong or why I did this or things like that. When you're stuck in that cycle, you cannot progress, you cannot move forward with yourself. So it's very important that you go to therapy to work these things out. You journal to work these things out. You pray about these things. Forgive yourself while also forgiving others for how they treated you as well too. And remember that even though you are apologetic for something that somebody did to you, it doesn't mean that they are apologetic for something they did to you. Everybody's journey to apologies and regret and guilt is different. So mind yours and don't worry about nobody else. So my powder has been sitting on my face for a while now, so I'm gonna just brush it off. Number 8, stop trying to take care of everybody else right now. It took me a while to stop feeling selfish and guilty for withholding some of my resources that I needed for myself and to progress myself because I grew up and I've grown up in a household with a single mom. And it's very instilled in us growing up, especially as a Nigerian American, that as a child, the pinnacle of success is going to be how much you can help your family. And the thing about that is that American culture and Nigerian culture are so different in that way. And unfortunately, that's just not, the cards that a lot of us are dealt, especially for first generation immigrant citizens. Being a American citizen, having Nigerian cultural background, bringing that into a happy place was a struggle for me in my 20s. I battled a lot with feeling guilt and selfish for wanting to do things like get my own apartment or move away or stop helping out at home in certain capacities because it was hindering my ability to take care of myself. But after a lot of therapy and a lot of prayer to God, I was able to have those tough conversations with my family. We have to understand that for you to help those behind you or beneath you, it's important for you to increase yourself and be able to get to a place where you can help without it hurting. So if you're in that space trying to figure that balance out with your family, one, I encourage therapy to learn the tools to be able to have those conversations. And two, remember that your parents at the end of the day, your family at the end of the day, they love you and they want it the best for you. They're just going off of what they're used to and what they know. Sometimes it's up to us to change the trajectory of our family by ways of making new decisions and pursuing new things. Now let's do our contour. Contour, I'm using my Fashion Fair Contour Compact Powder in Rich Copper. Number 9. Sometimes you have to let friends go because their values just don't align with yours anymore. When I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, I went through a insane friendship breakup. So much so that it stayed with me and affected me years after. And it wasn't until I went through therapy and I just gave it all to God that I was able to heal and really grow from it. And when I say heal and grow, I mean like forgive them, not have any malice towards them, not just like avoid it and pretend. I know how that goes. But one thing that I have really learned from those breakups is that it's important to give them a chance to meet your boundaries. Communication is so key in any relationship, and you have to be able to know what your boundaries are and how to communicate them, because a lot of times the lack of understanding of what our boundaries are and the lack of communication is what actually breaks friendships. Being that you're young in your 20s, I would say to invest a lot of time into learning your boundaries, reading about boundaries, reading about how to communicate boundaries in your friendships and all your relationships, because it'll take you so far and it'll allow you to not have to break and burn bridges when you don't have to. Once you communicate your boundaries and you find that you have some friends that just don't want to meet that boundary, then you kind of just know what you have to do. It's time to cut it off. Number 10, trust yourself. We all have what I like to call a spirit of discernment. That spirit of discernment, other people call it your intuition or trusting your gut, that only gets strengthened the same way your body gets strengthened, by practice and exercise. The little nudges in your stomach you get that tells you that something is a bad decision. And once you ignore those things for so long, go with that gut and see where it gets you. The more you go with it and it gets you to the right place, the more you build it up so that it gets stronger and louder, and it allows you to navigate your life in the way that you're supposed to. It gets to a point where you stop knowing how to trust yourself. We're going to go into our blush. Number 11, and this is one I had to learn the hard way. Stop letting things that should be common sense surprise you. You know who your real support team is. Don't be shocked when those outside of that don't show up for you. I think we grow up thinking that everyone we meet can be a friend and that every acquaintance is a friend as well too, and that's just not the truth. I saw a TikTok and a woman was talking about how she has learned to compartmentalize her friendships and either promote or demote as she sees fit by the ways of her friends' actions. Now, I can't do all that. That's too much brain power for me. But I do know that with time and with evidence, you're able to see who your real true core group of friends are. And they might not come from the same group. They might be one here, one there. That doesn't matter. You should be able to look around you and see who has showed up for you in ways that other people have not, who has had your back, who has been there for you. And it doesn't mean that they are the oldest friend. It just means that they are the ones that have shown you with their actions that they are able to support you in the ways that you need. You will avoid a lot of hurt in your life as you get older if you are able to place people where they actually truly belong. Number 12, everything from here on out is a choice. The person you love, the jobs you do, the way you show up. You really cannot use doing it for the plot as an excuse or a reason to make mistakes. Now, this is not saying that we cannot make mistakes, because mistakes are things that we just didn't see coming, right? We thought we were doing the right thing, but turns out that actually this was probably not the right route to go. And that's fine. We're humans. We're going to make mistakes to the day we die. But when you're intentionally making a choice to do something that you know would not be beneficial to your future, but it's fun in the moment, when that backfires, you're the only one to blame for that. There are things I've had to stop doing, places I've had to stop going, and honestly, people I've had to stop being around just because I know that even though they're good for now, they won't be good for later. And when you stop doing things haphazardly and doing it for the plot and start being intentional with your actions, you're going to see the fruits of your labor are going to start coming to fruition a lot easier. It's a snowball effect, and you have to understand that about your life now so that you can prepare for the future. This makeup is looking so good. Like, so good. Wow. We've done our blush, eyelashes, or lips next. Okay, I have to do my lashes off camera. You know how that goes. Alright, now we're gonna get into lips, and let's finish off our chit chat. Number 13, get a hobby. The importance of hobbies were not drilled into our minds until TikTok came around. When you have a hobby, your focus is so much into yourself and having fun doing that one thing, that, or multiple things, you can have multiple hobbies, that you're not focused on why you haven't reached certain milestones that you have no control over, why you're not married, why don't you have kids, why don't you this, why don't you that. You're actually enjoying your life and having fun. So I've seen people pick up things like pottery, photography, just name a few things. And there's so much more that you can do. You can dig into your childhood interests. You like to read, go to book clubs. Find a hobby that gets you outside of your friend group and allows you to meet other people, connect on other things, learn new skills that you want to learn. Like for me, I want to pick up skating because I never learned how to skate. I did learn how to swim a couple years ago and I love it now. So just things like that that allow you to explore yourself a little bit more and take away the idle time that you might have, which might be something that gets you into trouble in the future. And we don't want that. Now we're getting into my favorite part of my makeup routine, and that's lips. The Sephora lip liner in molasses and the MAC lip liner in cork. Number 14, be private, not secretive. Honestly, I feel like we all learn the hard way. We tell somebody that we trust the wrong thing and it ends up getting out. I feel like it's important to also have a sense of discernment when it comes to who you tell things to. So I know that there are a core group of people that I will trust that they will keep any information that I give them and tell them not to get it out. And that allows me to seek good counsel on a lot of things that go on in my life. And I'm able to go about life having the comfort of not having to keep all my secrets, because sometimes you just want to, just want to tell people certain things, and that's okay. But be mindful of who you tell things to and be sure to understand what it means to seek good counsel. Number 15, don't burn bridges unless absolutely necessary. This goes beyond breakups and failed friendships. This really is applicable to things like your career. You have to also understand that as you get older, you're going to want to experience new things. And a lot of the times, the people you know will be the links to those new experiences, because you never know in the future how they can help you. Number 16, just because he's a good guy doesn't mean that he should be your guy. I used to think of love in the terms of like lack, where if I was in love with somebody or I liked somebody, I didn't feel like, oh, if I let them go, that I can get somebody else. And that's false, because you have to think of life in abundance in all parts of your life. So you can't just think in abundance when it comes to your finances and then think in lack when it comes to your love life. When you start to believe in God's plan for your life and that He's always going to have what you need, when you need it. It's easier to let go of people and things that just don't align with you at that time.
Number 17.
Which is probably the most important lesson for me. Prayer is the most powerful tool you have. And of course, like everything else, this lesson has come from experience. When I was in my early to mid 20s, where I found myself questioning what I believed. And I got more into things that are currently outside of my faith now. Things like horoscopes and astrology, I saw as innocent, but really they were things that I was using to supplement my belief. So I encourage you to start early with your faith and ask God the questions you want to ask God. If you feel like you need to see Him in a real way, make that request to Him and be patient so He can work in your life. Put down the tarot cards, put down the horoscopes, put down the shadow work journals, and understand that the only way to get true answers about life is to lean on the understanding of God and not your own. All right, let's finish up my lips before we wrap this up. So for my lipstick, I'm using MAC and Cherish, Huda Beauty Liquid Matte Lipstick, and Sweet Talker. And for my gloss, I'm topping it off with the Fenty Beauty Gloss in Fussy. Gorgeous. Oh wait, I forgot. My little highlighter. This highlighter is so beautiful. This is a Sephora Color Luminizer in number 3. Do you see that? Do you see that iridescent pink? Oh, so gorgeous. Okay, now we're done, y'all. This is the final look. How do you like it? Let me know. The last thing I want to say is taking your time in your 20s to learn these lessons and actually apply them early is going to save you a lot of headache in the future, because honestly, once you get to your 30s, by this age, you'll find that a lot of people have given up and settled into a life that they don't love, talk less of like. And you have to be extremely intentional in your actions every day to make sure you don't fall into that same category. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little chit chat. Get ready with me, lessons for your 20s. And I appreciate you all watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.